everyone, it's Crystal with Mrs. Mindfettle, and today I'm going to be replanting my pot, so I thought it would be a good opportunity to do a video on container garden design. Containers can make a big difference on your deck, or on your front porch, or even on your balcony. No matter how big your spot is, you can really add a lot of pop and color by just a good container planting. So I'm going to walk you through the planting of this pot. I'll probably show you a few others when I'm done, but let's get started. Obviously, the first aspect of container garden design is the container. And in my opinion, the container should be as pretty as the plants you're going to put in it. It doesn't mean that it has to be super expensive, and you could use a whole ton of different things, you know, there's wheelbarrows and barrels and found objects that you can use as containers, but you know, pretty common are these big glazed pots. I have quite a few of them. Some of mine are more expensive, but others I've found at Costco. One thing about these big glazed pots is that you'll definitely want to make sure that there's been a hole drilled in the bottom for drainage. If there isn't, and you live in a climate that does get hard frost, the water in the bottom of the pot will often cause cracking of your pots from, you know, freezing and thawing. So what I've done with this pot is it's a really large pot that would take a lot of soil to fill, and it would be really heavy. And because I'm not planting huge things in it, I really don't need all that much soil. So what I've done is I have put some big styrofoam blocks on the bottom of this pot. It's a good way to use styrofoam packing that, you know, you can't do anything else with. It's just going to go sit in the landfill for years. So it has a few styrofoam blocks. I put a little layer of landscaping fabric, and I filled it with a good, this is a good organic potting soil. You don't have to have organic, you know, potting soil, but I often put herbs in some of my pots, and Elise plays out here all the time, and it's kind of inevitable that she's gonna eat some dirt. If the pot you're going to use isn't very big, all you need to do is maybe put a little gravel in the bottom of the pot and before you add the soil, just so you make sure that the drainage is going to be really good. Before I head to the nursery to pick out the plants I usually take some notes in my sketchbook. I will write down or sketch the amount of pots I'm going to be planting. I usually indicate the color and the size so that I have a rough idea of, you know, how many plants I need to fill it. I'll take inventory before I leave of either things that are in the pots that I'm going to reuse from last year, or things in the yard that I want to put in my pots, because I often scavenge the yard for things that I can put in my pots, or I take things from my pots and put them in my yard. So because, you know, if not, you're just kind of willy-nilly at the nursery and you don't know, you're either going to buy too little or too much, and things add up. So it's a good way to keep on track. When you've selected the plants that you're going to use, what I like to do is, when they're still in the pots, I like to lay them out in the pot, so I kind of have a good idea. And as far as design wise, what I like to do is I like something taller in the back that is going to be a focal point. Then I like some mid-range height plants. Then it just keeps on stepping down, so the lowest, and then eventually I like climbers. So tall plants, medium, short, climbers. That's kind of the rule that I usually stick by. The thing that I do different that a lot of people don't do is I often put perennials or shrubs of any sort in my pots, because I like that they are, sometimes they're evergreen, they'll winter over. I can have them in my pots in the wintertime when everything else has died back, so there's just a little something there. The downside to that is, you know, shrubs and perennials are expensive. You know, you can pick up a geranium for, you know, $3.99, $4, but, you know, you're gonna spend, you know, $16 or something on, you know, a little, you know, dwarf conifer or something of that nature. But it really makes a huge difference, I think, because if you're just sticking to annuals, you get a lot of color, but sometimes you don't really get that texture change, the height change that you would if you mix in shrubs, perennials, and annuals. I'm gonna go ahead and lay these out. So the first thing I want is some height. This is a lemon cypress. So I'm gonna stick that in there. I have this awesome geranium. It is called Regal Geranium. This is a shrub I'm going to reuse from last year. It's a euphorbia or spurge. Here's a fancy leaf geranium, another one. Stick that in front here. This is an African daisy that I love. It gets actually a lot bigger than this. I'm going to stick this in here. And I should say that, you know, this area of this deck gets a lot of sun, so I'm choosing full sun plants. Sometimes this railing will cast a little shadow, so if it's part shade it could probably do okay, but it gets pretty beat by the sun over here, so anything you know, that's a little sensitive to too much sun, you usually will wilt pretty good. And then for my climbers, verbena, I'm going to have over this way because I like this contrast of this darker green against the little bit of chartreuse on this geranium. I think I'm going to have that. This is something I pillaged from my front garden bed. It's Creeping Jenny. And this chartreuse color will pop well off of this geranium. So I'm going to stand back and make sure I like that. It's pretty full already and everything's going to grow. So let's see. Alright, I think I like that. I have a helper now. My helper woke up from her nap, so she's going to be playing. Yeah, those are sunglasses. She's going to be playing with her little bucket and tools that she got from Megan and Layla for your birthday, aren't you? Yeah? You want to play? Okay, you go play. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start unpotting them and put them pretty much in the same location. One thing to take note of is that a lot of times, especially shrubs, will have a good side and a bad side. So make sure you just look at it and make sure that the best side of the plant is facing where everybody's gonna see it. So I'm just going to fill in with my potting soil where it needs it. Here's the pot, all finished planted and watered. The only thing I changed from the last scene was I added this little rosemary that I had. I also added this heuchera and this phlox just because I wanted a little buffer between, because they're both that chartreuse bright color and I wanted something to separate that out a little to give it a little more pop. Here's a little pot that's right next to it. It has another geranium in it, more of the creeping Jenny. This is some chives, and I have some petunias right here. They're not in bloom, but they will be. Here's this big pot I have on the corner here. It's a big square red pot. This is a tiger's eye sumac. I have another geranium in here. This is like a petunia that will creep over the edge. These are two African daisies and then two other geraniums. This one has that nice chartreuse color. This is an orange sedge. And then this is a sedum that's gonna just crawl over the edge of that pot. This set of pots I just left as is. Already had everything in here. That's really pretty purple heuchera. Already had the vine already growing. So I'm gonna pick up a few shade loving flowering annuals to put in those probably, but they're pretty full as it is. This is another area of the deck that gets some shade. So I just have this big astilbe in it. It's gonna bloom in probably a week or two, and it pretty much takes up this entire pot, so I didn't touch this one either, but I like just that single plant in that pot. This is my last set of pots, and before I forget, I also wanted to mention that all my pots are raised up off the deck so they drain well. So in this one, we have more of that creeping Jenny, more petunias, another geranium. This, you're like, where is your tall plant? And it's actually back here, and it's not tall yet, and you probably can barely see it. I think it's called Black Beauty, but it's like a black lace leaf elderberry, and they actually get like, 20 feet tall, 15 feet tall. And so it won't stay in this pot forever, but that's going to be the tall piece in this pot. This is a euonymus, and it's variegated, so it gets some nice color. A really big tall petunia, some more geraniums. This is a licorice plant. It will creep over the side. More petunias. Another heuchera. This is sage, so for cooking. In this one we have more petunias. This is thyme, so another herb. This is a phlox that isn't flowering yet, another geranium. And this is Thunbergia, and it's gonna also creep over the edge of the pot, so another trailer. So for the most part, as you can see, I really stick with the, the tall in the back, and then kind of stack your way down, and then have something creeping over the side of the pot. Alright, well, my pots are all planted. I'm all done. I hope you enjoyed watching this, got some ideas, and hopefully you'll plan up a pot or two in the space that you have. I spent about a little over $100 on the new plants I got here. I've spent as much as $500, maybe over that before. But you can really be frugal about it, or you can, get some crazy expensive plants too. But I went on the frugal end this time. But I still am gonna like how they turn out, and they'll get big and bushy, and we'll enjoy them throughout all the summer and into the fall. Thanks for watching.